Music is another language to describe the feelings that we can't express in words. And that's especially true for me because I'm bad with words. Music is my first love because that's the first thing I remember. And it's also the first thing I want to do if I'm going through a lot, is to put on a really good playlist and just feel all the feelings in those songs. Like feel every note, every frequency, and just get lost in those feelings. I, like a lot of musicians, grew up in a very musical household. My parents were Jamaican, so my dad used to DJ and put on a whole show pretty much every single weekend of my life, especially in my early years growing up. They never once made me feel like, hey, you're gonna need to get a real job or choose a real career, or once you get to high school, you need to get serious. And they never did that. They've always been super supportive, bought me any equipment, any instruments, anything I needed to be able to do what I needed to do. I think it's super important for kids to have someone that really believes in them and really supports them, especially with the arts, because it's such a vulnerable thing to be a creative. And when you're starting, a lot of times it's really tricky, it's a little bit frustrating to learn the fundamentals and the basics, so having one that supports you and encourages you just makes you feel safe to make those mistakes and figure that out. I first picked up a violin when I was 7 years old. Our music teacher picked a couple of kids he thought was really interested in being in the school orchestra, and that's where I got my start. It was just right in my elementary school. When I got to college, I knew that I didn't want to be in an orchestra and travel and do all of that stuff. I was very much focused on music and being an artist. But then once I graduated, I got focused on money to be a freelancer, because being a freelancer isn't easy. And I got very much caught up in doing weddings and engagements and birthday parties and corporate gigs and all of that stuff. And it very quickly started to stifle me because I was just doing it for the money and I wasn't getting to be creative. And it felt like I was playing a minstrel of myself and not really being myself, because as a violinist, there's a stereotypical expectation of what that looks like in a performance or in a space. And that's never been the journey or the path I wanted to take with my music. So having to squeeze myself into this mold every time I go and do those gigs was very stifling creatively. And it was a tough decision to start turning down things and saying, no, I don't do weddings, I don't do these kinds of events. I don't want to play top 40 at a club. I want to work with creatives on different projects. I want to create music. I want to create something intimate and special when I'm performing, and not just play violin for the sake of playing violin. It was at that moment I realized I'm not telling my story or sharing my experience. I'm just rehashing somebody else's creativity and somebody else's experience, because all I'm doing is just playing somebody else's music. What comes with that, you feel like you're seen, but you're not actually being consumed. What you're doing isn't actually being consumed, you're just decoration is just the best way I can describe that feeling, and being able to actually be active in what your performance is going to look like, what emotions, what direction. I wanted to be front and center. I wanted to be the artist. I wanted to be the performer. I had to water down my Blackness to be more palatable in the environments that I was in. I never truly realized in those moments how much Black creativity and Black people in music, surprisingly, is extremely underrepresented. We are electronic music, we are music, and there's so many amazing things that we've done in that space, and I represent that with the electronic music I work on. I'm influenced by a lot of jazz, a lot of disco. Dive into your creativity, dive into your Blackness, dive into your culture, whatever that means for you, and express yourself that way. Don't suppress it and let it die. It's very important that we keep that going for not only ourselves, but for the future generations, because we are creativity, period. True creativity and creative expression is being truly honest with yourself about what it is you're feeling and allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to express that uninhibited by outside factors. At times, I have not felt creative, and it's a really distraught feeling to have, but it's a normal part of the process. You don't just do it mindlessly. You're gonna need a break. You're gonna need to be re-inspired, and it is okay to take a break. It's okay to not be the creative, to just watch someone else create. Always go back to your community, to your creative family. I like to think we're all playing a game, like in our interactions with everyone. There's an undertone, especially when you first meet someone. Whether you're a photographer, you're a painter, a graphic designer, a musician, whatever it is that you're doing, you oftentimes spend a lot of time by yourself and just working on your craft. What keeps me really grounded is a lot of nature. And hearing the wind move through the trees, it's almost like they're singing to you. And there's this very warm feeling of being alone, but not feeling alone. You feel the comfort of nature around you. When you see people, it's important that that community is supporting you not only from a place of love, but from a place of empathy and true understanding, because they're going through the same things as well. There is no right path when you're creative. It is all up to you, and that can mean anything. And that kind of open-endedness is very vulnerable and overwhelming sometimes. Muse, to me, means so many different things. It's literally whatever I'm inspired by, and I'm a pretty random person. Not only am I consistently dabbling in different mediums of art and creativity, but the things that inspire my creativity are vast and wide, and that is what a muse is: anything that inspires your art and your creativity. If I could go back to 10, 11-year-old me and say something to her, it would be very confident in the fact that you're starting to look at music differently, and you're starting to want to experiment and think about your creativity differently. Like, what you're doing really is awesome, and you don't need to worry about how that fits into a traditional situation. What's next for Lee Muse? Confidence. Confidence to carry out all the other aspects of my creativity through art. I'm working with a lot of people and taking the risk on all these ideas that I've had for so long, but I wasn't ready yet, and I wasn't confident enough in this vision that I had to act on it. And now I feel that I know enough about myself, my creative process, and I'm confident enough in what I'm doing to finally start. This is all that there really is. This is life. This is outside, this is the earth, at the end of the day, if we stopped maintaining all of this, all that would be left is the grass and the trees and the ocean, and it just really puts things into perspective when it's really easy to get caught up in what our day-to-day looks like. If all of this goes away, this is what's left. And it's okay, and you're here, and you're alive, and you're breathing, and everything that's going on will too come to pass. And it's just, music is not only therapy, it's my career, it's how I communicate. Music is really everything for me. And it's a wrap, and we're done, and I hope y'all enjoyed learning about me. Yes.
Cool.